What's happening, BGS? This is BGS Godlike coming at you once more for map callouts here on Crisis. Let's go ahead and get started with the first spawn in which we are in, which is the Pipes spawn. The reason why I call it Pipes is if you look over here to our right, you have the big pipe. Yes, this is actually what we're going to call this, a big pipe. Don't know what it is, but we're calling it a pipe. Moving on out here, looking up in the sky, you're going to see the tower. You can call it Sniper Tower, but that's what we're just going to call it, simply Tower. Moving down here in the middle of the road, you're going to see a truck, another truck, and another truck. Guess what we call this place? Yep, trucks. Moving on into our first kind of sort of building, which we're going to call Broken. Big Broken, yeah. Hopping over BGS's invisible line once more. Coming out here, this little courtyard is what we're going to call Bulb. The reason why we call it Bulb is simple. A random light bulb. It's indestructible. Moving on, coming over there, hopping over the big wall, big fence wall, whatever. We're going to call this the back house. No, not like the ones you shit in, a back house. And then after you come over here, it ends right here, and then you hop over into what we call the wall. There's a random wall here, that's why we call it wall, this little area, and then it stops right over here, and then we're going to come on inside the house. And this is what we're going to call the lower house. If you kind of run all the way through, all of this is considered the lower house. And from the lower house, you're going to come up into the house stairs. And then coming over here, you're going to have the house roof. Yes, this does consist of the window. The house roof is all around here. And once again, it consists of the window. And by the way, this is called the top house, in case I didn't mention that. Moving on, this is what we're going to call the ramp window. The ramp window you can easily see out of, but the enemy cannot really see you. Boom, boom, boom. You are dead there, Mr. Cameraman. And yes, I can still see you. Moving on, coming out of here, we're going to cover the ramp stairs. Notice the different stairs that we have next to the house. We have the ramp stairs, and then the stairs which are actually inside the house. Coming on back up here, we're going to actually go over what we call the ramp. This right here, which I'm standing on, is the ramp. Moving on, what we're going to call this big old thingamabobber is we're going to call the cliff. Cliff overlooks most of the map. It's pretty nice, but since we're going to call it Cliff, BGS will kick your ass. Moving on. This is what we're going to call the Cliff Hill, which is the offgoing hill of the cliff. Get it? Cliff Hill. Got it? Good. Moving on to what we like to call the mound. I kind of think it looks like a pitcher's mound, and it's the rack. You're out, meow. Moving on inside. We're going to call this whole little section here, it's going to be called the elevator. Elevator, why? Oh, because there's a big elevator right there. Imagine that. Godlike's pretty damn smart, aren't I? Moving on, snaking our way through the outside. We're going to call this whole entire building, which includes this big room and its little conjoining room over here. We're going to call this Nuke. Big nuclear warhead inside. That's for show. Moving on outside, coming over, hopping over here onto our next little section, which includes this whole entire area all the way until this little house. We're going to call this 18. The reason why we call it 18 is simple. The little yellow 18 on the house, and if you run over here to the tank, the little 18 on the tank. 18 is what we call this. Moving on over to our right, we're going to call this place Net. Notice the big net in which is above you. But if you stop, look to the right, we are going to call this Net Tunnel. Ooh. Some of you probably didn't know about this, did you? Ha, ha, ha. Moving on over, coming around here. This we're going to call, this is the opposing spawn, in which we're going to call Beach. And if you look around, you see two tanks. We are going to differentiate the tanks. This tank over here is called closed tank. The reason why it's called a closed tank, if you look from the behind, it's all closed off. But its opposing little butt buddy over here is open. Yes, this one does catch. The other one tosses, if you know what I mean. This is the open tank. Moving on over to here. We're going to call this Big Rock. Yes, most of you know it as Sniper Rock or Sniper Cliff. We're going to call it Big Rock. Jumping off a Big Rock. Coming on down over here. Once again, that is called Mound. Just to let you all know once more. Coming over here, we're going to call this Small Rock or Little Rock, whichever you prefer. I don't like that spot. And in this tunnel, if somebody's in this tunnel, please still call it Small Rock. You can say, you know, beneath Small Rock or tunnel by Small Rock, you know, anything you need to differentiate the two places, but this is considered Small Rock. From Small Rock all the way over here to the secondary entrance to the Cliff Hill, all the way to the entrance right here, and in through here, we're going to call this Sandbags. Notice all the sandbags. See how intelligent we are? Very, very, I know. Moving on into what we're going to call the main control room. This main from this entrance all the way to these stairs is what we're going to call the control room. Now, we are going to differentiate the two little rooms, I'm sorry. This little room over here is what we're going to call voltage. Reason why we call it voltage, all the voltage regulators all over the room. Moving on into the opposing small room, we're going to simply call it locker. Notice the open locker, which was opened by Godlike earlier. Yes, it's already open, meow. And if you come on up here, we're going to call this room secret. The reason why we call it secret is because if you look out the windows behind me, you will notice all the little secret bombs and missiles and whatnot back there for their little secret missions. Yes, we did make that story up. Yeah, I know, right? And moving on, starting from right here at the stairs, we are going to call this wire. Notice the big, long wire that leads into our next call out, which we're going to call K6. Don't look at that sign, meow. But throughout this whole entire building, we're going to call this K6. The reason why we call it K6 is because of that sign right there. And this sign right out here. Well, guys, I believe that's it for me. Once more, I hope to see y'all again. Deuces.